Give a teenager limited reach, zero accountability, and an algorithm that rewards chaos, and you'll create a monster. That monster is Jack Doherty. For nearly a decade, this 20-year-old has harassed innocent bystanders for content, nearly killed his cameraman while texting and driving, built an OnlyFans empire targeting barely legal women and promoted it to his child audience. And after every controversy, every ban, every lawsuit, he comes back stronger. Because the internet has a dirty secret. It doesn't matter if you're loved or hated, as long as people can't look away. Today, we're breaking down the career of YouTube's main villain. But before that, it's your boy Prince. I would appreciate it if you guys could like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out. Now, back to the video. Jack uploaded his first YouTube video on September 29th, 2016. He was 13 years old, armed with nothing but a camera and a specific talent for flipping markers. That clip would eventually rack up 30 million views. It was the kind of harmless content that made YouTube what it was. Kids doing random stuff that somehow captivated other kids. Jack followed it up with more flipping videos. Water bottles, pens, whatever he could get his hands on. Believe it or not, subscribers stacked up. At just 14, Jack had cracked the algorithm. His parents even appeared in some of the early videos, playing along with harmless pranks. It all seemed fine. Teenager making content, building an audience, maybe setting himself up for a nice college fund. But somewhere along the way, Jack discovered something far more addictive than views. The rush of crossing lines nobody else would. By 2018, Jack had moved past flipping objects. He wanted bigger reactions, louder moments, more engagement. So he started walking into stores with his camera rolling, doing whatever it took to get kicked out. He'd yell on the intercom, turned off lights in aisles, and harass employees just trying to do their job. The floor's lava challenge became one of his go-to stunts. He'd run through stores, screaming, jumping on furniture, causing scenes while terrified staff members tried to figure out what to do with his kid. The video went viral, millions watched, and Jack learned a critical lesson. Chaos sells. But this is where things started to shift, because Jack wasn't just pulling pranks anymore. He was targeting strangers who never asked to be part of his content. Employees making minimum wage become props in his stunts. Random shoppers became collateral damage in his quest for virality. And instead of slowing down when people pushed back, Jack doubled down. He started bringing security guards with him, not for his protection at first, but for the spectacle. The image of a teenager walking around with hired muscle made him look untouchable. It fed into the persona he was building. A kid who could do whatever he wanted because he had money, followers, and people willing to enable him. His use of security guards became precisely a defining part of his content. The formula was simple and disgusting. He'd approach someone in public, saying something inflammatory, and the second someone reacted, his bodyguards would step in. Jack could talk all the trash he wanted, knowing he'd never actually have to face consequences. This pattern played out dozens of times on camera. Jack would provoke, someone would get angry, the bodyguard would intervene, and Jack would walk away laughing, uploading the footage for millions to see. It was coward behavior dressed up as entertainment. But on October 28, 2023, this formula turned into a recipe for disaster. Jack was at a Halloween party hosted by YouTuber David Dobrik. Cameras were rolling. Jack and his bodyguard, Kane Kong, were talking with a man named Chase Gardella outside the venue. According to the lawsuit that followed, because yes, there was a lawsuit, Gosley asked Jack, "What are we doing?" Jack responded, "We're gonna fight. Us two versus you two. Alright, go." Seconds later, Kane punched the guy square in the face. The man dropped hard onto the brick pathway, suffering injuries to his head, face and neck. The entire assault was live streamed on Kick. Jack didn't stop the stream. He didn't check if Gardella was okay. He uploaded the clip to YouTube, Twitter and TikTok with the caption, "My security just knocked out a guy live on Kick." Chase Gardella filed a lawsuit in February 2024, suing Jack and Kane Kong for assault, battery and emotional distress. The legal documents spelled it out clearly. Jack had a history of filming himself harassing people and using his security to intimidate anyone who reacted. He'd done this before. He would do it again. And every time, he profited from the footage. Jack's lawyer tried to claim he was acting in self-defense, that Gardella had somehow provoked the situation. But the video told a different story. As of now, the case is still ongoing, with the trial scheduled for April 2026. Gardella, who has since become a practicing lawyer, isn't backing down. If there was any doubt left about Jack's character, October 5th, 2024 made it crystal clear. Jack was driving his brand new McLaren 570S on a Miami highway during the rainstorm. The roads were slick, visibility was terrible, and Jack was live streaming the entire drive on Kick while staring at his phone and reading chat messages. His cameraman and friend, Michael, sat in the passenger seat. An irrational person would slow down, focus on the road, maybe even pull over. But Jack was too busy entertaining his viewers. Then he made a joke. I'm most likely going to crash this car. Seconds later, the car hydroplaned, the tires lost grip on the wet pavement. Jack tried to correct it, but it was too late. The McLaren spun sideways and slammed into a metal barrier. The stream cut out for a moment. When it came back, this was Jack's first reaction. A total crisis. Thank God nobody died. But he didn't mention that, because it wasn't part of his content. Michael was taken to the hospital. Jack filmed that too, of course. At the end of it, Florida Highway Patrol cited him for using a wireless device while driving. Kick permanently banned him from the platform, and the internet erupted in outrage. But here's the thing, Jack didn't care. Because outrage meant engagement. Engagement meant views. And views meant money. He nearly killed his friend, but he'd also created one of the most viral moments of his career. Yet Jack's most disturbing business venture has nothing to do with pranks or stunts. Multiple sources, including fellow streamer Natalie Reynolds, accused Jack of targeting women barely old enough to join OnlyFans. Streamer Neon claimed on a broadcast that Jack would approach girls the night before their 18th birthday to sign contracts giving him 50% of their lifetime earnings from OnlyFans. Jack went to X to deny these specific allegations, claiming he had proof that the youngest woman he signed was already 18 for 4 months before signing. But the ethical problem remains. Jack built a significant portion of his income by managing adult content creators, then promoting their pages to his audience, an audience largely made up of kids and teenagers, and that's the core problem. Jack's YouTube channel, with over 50 million subscribers, primarily attracts young viewers. His early content was marker flipping and pranks. Kids grew up watching him, and now, years later, those same viewers are being directed to OnlyFans pages that Jack directly profits from. When asked directly if he thought managing OnlyFans creators while having a teenage audience was problematic, he deflected, claiming every girl he worked with wanted to do it and made hundreds of thousands of dollars. But wanting to do something and being pressured into it aren't always different, and we'd soon learn just how much pressure Jack was willing to apply. In November 2024, Jack married McKinley Richardson in Las Vegas. McKinley was an influencer herself. The two had been dating since early 2023. She appeared regularly in his content. They seemed like a typical creator couple, except nothing about Jack Doherty is typical. The wedding was live streamed to Jack's 15.3 million followers. McKinley wore a white dress. Jack wore a suit. It should have been a happy moment. Instead, it became one of the most humiliating spectacles ever. When it came time for the speech, Jack put out a prenup and started reading it loud. Her face says it all. The vows were degrading, disrespectful, and designed to humiliate. People watching weren't sure if it was a prank or real. Jack, after all, was known for pranks. But months later, when McKinley appeared on her friend Camila Araujo's podcast, she confirmed it. It was all too real. McKinley had no idea Jack was planning to say all those things. She thought it would be a sweet moment. Instead, it became content, a viral clip, another notch in Jack's strategy of turning every moment into material. She said that the emotional abuse, the manipulation, and the relentless need to turn everything into content destroyed the relationship. By March 2025, she moved out of their $3.5 million mansion in Fort Lauderdale. The marriage, which was never legally binding, was over. By November 2025, Jack's controversies had piled so high that an arrest felt inevitable. And on November 14th, it happened. Jack was in Miami Beach, partying on a yacht with friends. Hours later, around 3 a.m., police spotted him and a group filming on the street, blocking traffic in the city's busy entertainment district. Officers asked him multiple times to move, but Jack refused. When police arrested him, they found half of an orange pill, imprinted with the number 3, and 3 hand-rolled cannabis cigarettes, weighing about 4 grams combined. He was charged with possession of a controlled substance, possession of marijuana, and resisting an officer without violence. Jack was released the next day on a $3,500 bail, and instead of laying low, he immediately turned the arrest into content, He posted his mugshot on Instagram. He filmed himself leaving jail, flashing his diamond necklace. The arrest didn't humble him, it energized him. Because for Jack, any attention is good attention. And as long as people keep watching, he will keep pushing. Jack Doherty is 22 years old. He's what happens when the pursuit of fame becomes completely detached from morality, empathy, or basic human decency. But he has made millions. He's been banned from multiple platforms. He's facing lawsuits, he's lost relationships, and he shows no sign of changing. Because changing would mean admitting that what he's built, his entire career, his entire persona is rotten. So he'll keep live streaming until one day the consequences catch up in a way that even Jack can't turn it to content. And that's the legacy of YouTube's main villain. Just a long, disturbing look at what happens when someone with no boundaries is given a platform, an audience, and an algorithm that rewards the worst parts of human nature.